For today's beading lesson, I have a tip for how to make your own custom bangle bracelets. So take a look at these bracelets over here. There are a lot of different styles, and something that you might be familiar with already is like the orange bracelet in front. There are cups that are attached together. This is called cup chain, and it has these little prongs that stick up so that you can put your own colored crystals inside. Now, there are also cuff shapes and bangle shapes. They come in a lot of different sizes. The one that we're going to work on today is a bangle. So when you're choosing a bangle, you probably already know that some fit better than others. You want to choose one that fits comfortably over your hand, so make sure that it's a comfortable fit. Now, if you're going to do any kind of addition to the surface here, like if you're going to add knotting like we are, then you need to pick one that's a little bit bigger. So this one is good for me to add knotting to, or you can even get one that's larger. If you're going to add some bulkier cording to it, that would be really important. And the way that you can test that is just hold your cording inside the bracelet when you try it on, because it adds a little bit of depth there against the surface when you're wearing it. So to get started, the first thing that you'll do is pick your stones. And you can use stones that have a point on the back. These are called chatons, and these are crystal. You can also use other shapes like these rosebuds or pearls. You just want to make sure that they're size that will fit inside the cup. And these are 8.5 millimeters, so they're going to fit really well inside this one. And you can just put this in place with your fingers, or there are special tools that have wax tips that you can use to press your stone into place. Now, the traditional method of using prong style jewelry is to use your pliers to just bend the prongs into place. So carefully come against the top of the crystal there, and on diagonal corners then, you want to press your stone. And you just do incrementally, a little bit at a time, and that brings the prongs right onto the top of the surface. You can also use the end of your plier handles, especially if they're a soft type of plier, to just run over the surface of it like that. You don't need any glue for this type of project. So you're just pressing everything into place. And this is a traditional method of making costume jewelry. And you know, this is exactly the way that all of the original costume jewelry you find in vintage was made, was with the prongs and not using glue. So for other shapes like this little rosebud here, it's the same kind of thing. You just use your pliers to squeeze the tips. Now, when you have the pliers on opposite sides of a piece like this, with a crystal especially, you have to be really, really careful not to scratch or mar your crystal. You can use the tip of your plier to just bend it into place as well, but I have better luck with squeezing from side to side, as long as you're careful, like that. Now, there's also a special type of tool that you can use for setting the stone, and it's this cup-shaped portion. It's called a prong pushing tool, and you just use it to press directly down and then just kind of run around the surface. And this is burnishing those prongs into place on top of the stone. So that makes it even fast and easy to create these bracelets just really quickly. So to add some embellishment to this, what we'll do is use some leather cord. And you're going to need about 3 yards. So I use the old-fashioned measurement system here, my arm's length, to get my 3 yards of cord. And I chose to use 1.5 millimeter, and this is leather cord. You could also use ribbon, you could use yarn. I like the look of the leather with the crystals. So now what we'll do is start to knot onto the bracelet. I'm just going to bring this one in. You'll bring your cord to the center, and then we're going to tie square knots in between each. So it's a loop on the side, then over, under, and through. And that's in one direction, and that's the same knot that you use to tie your shoe, so it's a half knot. Then go back the other direction, making a loop, bring it over, under, and through, and then pull it tight. And you can use different sizes of cording to fit in between here. I think 1.5 millimeter works well. So that's one direction. We're going to have the pattern and instructions for this on the website, so you can follow along. Of course, where this gets really personal is by choosing all of your favorite colors, both between the crystals and other things that you might want to add, and with your metal color and with your cording. So you can really bring in a lot of different color into your design. So you just keep knotting like that around the surface of the bangle. And then you're going to get something that looks like this. And you can see how different it looks when you have your stones versus your knotted look. And of course it looks different because it has different colors here, but I think it adds a lot of flair there on the sides. The way to finish that is to go ahead and bring your ends together. So I'm just going to knot around to the beginning where I started. And another great thing about knotting onto here is you don't need any tools for that part. You just do it by hand. You could put your bracelet on a bracelet stand, or if you're working at a bench, you can put it in your vise, and that will hold it steadier for you while you tie. All right, so we have it all the way back around to the beginning. So for my last knot, I just want to make sure that it's situated in between here. See how there's a space between my last knot and my first knot? Now what I want to do is loosen this up just enough that I can take my last cord and place it through that loop so that it looks like I tied the last knot together, but really we'll do that on the back. So I'm going to pull it through. I'll loosen this one up enough. This is where it's nice working with a natural material because you can poke it through there. And you could use an embroidery needle to make that easier. All right, so bring it through here. And then we're going to tie it on the back here. So here, you're just going to tie the same exact knot on the back of your bracelet. So it's one over the other and through the loop. Tie it tight, and then one over the other and through the loop, and pull that tight. And you'll tighten this up all on the back, like that. And it's really not going to affect the fit too much because we already tested to make sure that this fits with that extra layer of cording. Now I'm going to bring my scrap paper over and add a little bit of jeweler's cement to the knot here. And once it's dry, then I'll trim my cords very close against the inside of the back of the bracelet. Now there's another method of adding leather in between your crystals, and it looks like this one, and it's using the deer tan lace to just lay it in between. So for something like that, what you'll do is take your bracelet, and here at the beginning, we're just going to hold a piece against the inside. And then we're going to wrap over the top of it, like this. Now you can do the same method with the bangle bracelet, but just thought I'd show you a different idea here on the cuff. So see how my leather is laying against the inside? Now I'm just going to wrap around and in between. Now this is going to be different look depending on which size leather you use, whether you could add extra layers of leather in between here. You can also twist this so that the suede surface shows in between one and the smooth surface shows in between the other, so that you can get some different effects here. See how it looks different with the matte versus the shiny in between? So I actually really like the matte look with those shiny crystals. So we'll just wrap this all the way around to the end. And then we've got a little bit of extra stuff going on here. So we'll cut off an extra piece of cord. Now when we get to the very end, for this one, what you can do is loosen this up enough that you can pass your cording back inside and pull it through like this, so it's just one basic little knot. And I would actually just drop a little bit of my jeweler's cement in between these two layers of leather, and then once that's dry, you're safe to trim this off. Now some other ideas are you could leave these ends on here and even add more. You'd have a little tassel here. You could also tie some beads and charms onto your extra cording. Same thing for this style of bracelet here at the end. If you wanted to, you could add some other charms and beads here at the end to it too. And all of these spots right here give you a place to attach beaded head pins or charm dangles with jump rings. You could make this even into a charm bracelet and really layer it up. So since we're talking about layering, let's take a look at how this would be if we add another color here. So we have some browns going on. Let's take some of this deer tan lace and just add this around the sides. So all of these spaces here provide the perfect shape to pass the deer tan through. And I'm not sure how long this is going to take. Probably, I would say about, I don't know, probably a couple of feet worth of leather here. So this is just creating another way of adding some color onto the side of your knots. And don't forget that these crystals don't all have to be the same color. You could do repeating colors of your team colors, your favorite colors, your kids' birthstones, anything is possible.